So it's a continuation of the exercise acid, base, and the oxides. The sulfuric acid react with hydrocarbon to react with hydrocarbon called benzene to produce benzene sulfonic acid. The formula is C6H5SO3H. The benzene sulfonic acid is a strong acid which ionize to produce a hydrogen ions and the benzene sulfonate ions. What is meant by the term strong acid? So the definition of a strong acid, the acid which ionize, which is having a low pH, but that's too low a pH, but the definition point of view, whenever you mention, you should mention that it's ionized completely or dissociate completely. That's also correct. Describe how to show that 1 mole per dm cube solution of benzene sulfonic acid is a strong acid. So how we can identify that the acid is strong? So we can use indicator, or we can use a pH meter. It will have a, if you use a universal indicator, it will be red in color. Or if we use a pH meter, it will be a pH like 0 or 1 or 2. So any of them, we can use indicator. And it will show red color. And specify which indicator, like universal indicator. It will show a red color, or we measure the pH. That is equals to, using a pH meter, it will be like 0, 1, 2, you can mention any range. Then we have to write a chemical equation for reaction between benzene sulfonic acid and sodium carbonate. So whenever any carbonate react with acid, it will give salt, water, and carbon dioxide. So we have sodium carbonate. So sodium carbonate is Na2CO3. Benzene sulfonic acid is C6H5. I'll just zoom in to give an idea. C6H5 SO3H plus, so when acid is, this is an acid, what will happen? Because when normally acid react with a metal carbonate, the metal will take position of the hydrogen. So same thing happened here, that hydrogen is replaced by, why this is of 2 marks? The previous example, the previous one, why it was of 2 mark? 1 mark is for mentioning what technique you use, like using an indicator or using the pH meter, and second is the result of that. So the metal will take position of the hydrogen. So as a result, it will form C6, that is a sodium benzoate. So C6H5SO3 Na will be there, plus water is there, so that is H2O, plus carbon dioxide is CO2. So always a metal will take position of the hydrogen when acid react with metal oxide, metal carbonate, metal hydroxide, or even acid react with metal. Then the second thing is balancing the equation. So metals usually written first, but for organic acids, the metals are written at the last. When organic salts are reacting with acid, the metals are written at the last. Because in organic acids are a bit different from normal mineral acids. So organic acids, hydrogen is written at the last. So the metal, when it displays the hydrogen, the metal will displace the last hydrogen always. For organic acid, for normal acid, like if this was the same reaction, if I say sodium carbonate was reacting with hydrochloric acid, then what will be the product? this sodium will take position of hydrogen. So you'll form sodium chloride plus water plus carbon dioxide. But what is the difference here? That in benzene sulfonic acid, the hydrogen is not written at first, it's written at the last. So when we were having sodium carbonate, Na2CO3 plus C6H5SO3H. So when the sodium metal displays, sodium will displace the hydrogen. So it will produce C6H5SO3H, Na, because the sodium took the position of hydrogen. So salt will be there plus water H2O plus carbon dioxide CO2. And the equation must be balanced. So we have 2 sodium on the left. So if I put 2 sodium is balanced, rest all are balanced. You can check accordingly. So whenever acid react with metal oxide, metal carbonate, metal, the metal will displace the hydrogen from the acid. If hydrogen is there in the beginning, it will displace the hydrogen from the start. If the hydrogen is placed at the last, it will displace the hydrogen from the end. The hydrogen is not balanced, so we'll just put 2 here. This equation is now balanced. Before it was not. Now it is balanced in terms of all. So this was a equation when we have sodium carbonate, which is Na2CO3 reacted with benzene sulfonic acid C6H5SO3H. So this sodium will take position of hydrogen because the metal displaces the hydrogen from the acid. So it will form C6H5SO3Na plus water H2O plus carbon dioxide CO2. So usually when we start balancing with oxygen followed by oxygen is already balanced. Then we start with oxygen followed by hydrogen. So oxygen is balanced here 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 and 3, 6. Then balancing hydrogen. Hydrogen is 1, hydrogen is 2. So we put 2 here, so hydrogen is balanced. But when we put 2, hydrogen is balanced, but now oxygen is unbalanced because 3 multiplied by 2, 6 plus 3, 9. And we have 3 here and 6 on the right hand side because 3 plus 1, 4, 5, 6. So we have to balance oxygen. So when we put 2, oxygen is also balanced again. So now this equation is balanced in terms of all the reagents. In question 6, copper 2 nitrate is made by reacting copper 2 carbonate with nitric acid. One of the product is carbon dioxide. Write the chemical equation for reaction of copper 2 carbonate with nitric acid. So whenever they mention a chemical equation, it must be a symbolic equation and it should be balanced. But first, don't bother about the balancing. First thing, you should write a correct product. So what are the reactant? The copper 2 carbonate is reacting with nitric acid to give copper 2 nitrate. So what will the formula of copper 2 carbonate? This Roman 2 is a valency of copper, which is plus 2. And carbonate is CO3 with a valency minus 2. So copper 2 carbonate, what will be the formula for copper 2 carbonate? If the two ions have the same valency, we simplify in the valency and the cross multiply. So copper 2 carbonate will simply be CuCO3. Because copper is +2 and the carbonate is -2. That's why the formula for copper to carbonate is CuCO3. Plus nitric acid. So nitric acid is HNO3. Gives, because the copper to nitrate is made. So what is the formula for copper to nitrate? This Roman 2 is representing the valency of copper, which is +2, and nitrate is NO3 with the charge -1.
So Cu between bracket NO3 2.
2. So copper to nitrate, that it will be carbon dioxide CO2 plus water H2O. First thing, you write the correct formulas like the symbols, or that's why otherwise if you don't do the first step correctly, like if the symbols or the formula of the compounds are inaccurate, then it's no use of balancing the wrong equation. So first you have to write a correct symbols for each of them and the formulas. Now for balancing, as I mentioned, we start with oxygen followed by hydrogen and then other elements. Oxygen 3 multiplied by 2, 6, 7, 8 and 9. And here I have 3 and 3, 6. So I have to make it 9. So if I put 2 here, 2 multiplied by 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now it is 9 on both sides. So oxygen is balanced. Hydrogen 2 here, hydrogen 2, it's already balanced. Copper 1, it's balanced. Carbon 1, it's also balanced. Nitrogen 2, nitrogen 2. So I just try to balance oxygen. The whole equation is balanced. Then carbon dioxide is added to air by living thing. Name a chemical process by which the carbon dioxide is added to the atmosphere. That is by respiration. And how carbon dioxide is removed from the air by the plants. That is the photosynthesis. In question 7, dilute sulfuric acid react with a base, the metal and metal carbonate. Write the chemical equations for the reaction of dilute sulfuric acid with each of the following. So first one is magnesium hydroxide. We have to write equation, so it must be symbolic. Magnesium hydroxide. Yeah, that's a good question. Like how I can identify where I should put 2. It's because I can put, as I have to balance oxygen, I can put 2 here as well. That will also make like 2 multiplied by 3, 6 and 9. But what difference it will make? If I put 2 here, that it does not balance hydrogen. Even when I put 2 here, it happened 2 things. 2 things are balanced at the same time. It balanced hydrogen and it balanced oxygen at the same time. That's why I prefer to put 2 before HNO3, not with copper. So here when I substitute 2, it was balancing 2 elements, oxygen and hydrogen. If I substitute 2 here, it will only balance oxygen, but it does not balance hydrogen. That's why I put 2 before nitric acid rather than copper carbonate. So this one, when I dilute sulfuric acid, dilute sulfuric acid is reacting with magnesium hydroxide. So first, you have to write a correct formula for magnesium hydroxide. Magnesium is group 2 That will be +2 and hydroxide is -1. So magnesium hydroxide is MgOH in a bracket 2. Reacted with sulfuric acid, which is H2SO4. So what is the product? It will be magnesium sulfate. Now, what is the formula for magnesium sulfate? Magnesium is +2 and sulfate is -2. So what is the formula? SO4 with a charge -2. So magnesium
So
sulfate,
MgSO4.
it will be MgSO4. When metal hydroxide react with acid, it will give salt. So sulfuric acid gives sulfate salt and other product will be water. Then we have to check the balancing part. After writing an equation, we have to check the balancing. We start with oxygen, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6 are there. So means I have to make it 6 on the right hand side. 4 are already there. So how, because this 4 oxygen and 2 oxygen, 6 on the left. So magnesium hydroxide, and so when I put 2 are there, so if I put 2 here, oxygen is, we start balancing with oxygen is done. So 2 oxygen here and 4, 6, and 4 plus 2, 6. Then hydrogen 2 multiplied by 2, 4, and 2 here and 2 here, 4. Magnesium is balanced and sulfur is also balanced. So this equation is now balanced in terms of all the reagents. The next one is zinc. A metal, zinc react with sulfuric acid. So zinc, because it's a metal, so that is Zn only. And sulfuric acid is H2SO4. It forms zinc sulfate. So zinc sulfate, zinc is +2 and sulfate is -2. So ZnSO4 plus hydrogen is H2. For certain elements, you have to memorize the valency, especially like zinc, silver, lead, better memorize. So zinc is +2 valency. So zinc ZnSO4, that is +2. Then we have to balance, start with oxygen. It's 4 here, balance, hydrogen, balance, sulfur, balance. So this is already balanced in terms of all the elements. The next one is sodium carbonate. So the next one is sodium carbonate react with sulfuric acid. Give sodium sulfate plus water plus carbon dioxide. So sodium carbonate and sodium carbonate formula is Na2CO3. Why sodium carbonate formula is Na2CO3? Because sodium is group 1, so it is +1. And carbonate valency is -2. So formula for sodium carbonate, Na2CO3, gives reacted with sulfuric acid. So sodium carbonate, which is Na2CO3, reacted with sulfuric acid, H2SO4. Give sodium sulfate. What is the formula for sodium sulfate? Sodium is +2 and it's +1 and sulfate is -2. So sodium sulfate will be Na2SO4 plus water H2O plus carbon dioxide CO2. We start balancing with oxygen. So 2 plus 1, 3 for 7 and 7 oxygen is balanced. Hydrogen, balance. Carbon, balanced. Sodium, balanced. So rest all of them are balanced. And in question 8, ionic equation for the reaction between the phosphate ion and the sulfuric acid is shown. Why phosphate ion is described as a base? Why this phosphate ion is a base? What happened? So what is the definition of a base? Acids are proton.
hydrogen acceptor.
Don't say hydrogen. You have to
Sorry,
use a
sir,
proton.
proton.
Because if you say hydrogen, hydrogen can be H. Hydrogen can be H2. But even hydrogen ion is not acceptable because it can be plus or minus. So you have to specify either H plus acceptor or proton acceptor is a simple. And in question 9, why propanoic acid behave as an acid and ammonia act like a base? A 3 mark. So the same answer as we did in the previous one, because it is donating proton. So propanoic acid, because it donate proton, don't say hydrogen ion. And why ammonia is a base? Because it is accepting proton. 1 mark is for mentioning proton, 1 mark is for accept, 1 mark is for donate. Explain the term weak expression weak acid. Weak acid means it ionize, does not ionize completely, or you can say ionize partially. So these are the first 5 pages from the exercise acid, base, and oxides, the type of oxides. The next session I will discuss how to prepare soluble and insoluble salts.